Welcome back to the Point Guard Cast with your host Sean and Corey. I'm Corey.
I'm Sean. What's up, man?
How you been doing?
All right, I'm good. What about you?
I'm good too, man. Good too. Just trying to.
First episode of the new year, dog.
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, dang, we waited 7 days in.
Yeah, it's last one I think was like December 22nd. But yeah, it's the first one of the new year. Yeah, we kind of a week late, but that's all right. That's all good.
Exactly, it's all good. But I'm glad that we are excited to see what happens with this year, especially with us and our new podcast we got. So
it's been a fun year, but a weird year because, like, think about all the blowouts we've had. I feel like teams are still trying to get their feet up under them,
right?
And we've had like some of the Clippers have been blown out by 50 points. The Heat's been blown out pretty bad. Teams that went kind of deep in the playoffs have been blown out early, and meanwhile teams that haven't played in a while, some of them have been playing really well. But we'll get into that a little bit later with our topic.
Right. That's a good point. You're right. There have been some weird blowouts this year that I kind of didn't expect.
Yeah,
like the one with the Clippers, that was crazy. I know they didn't have Kawhi, but I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, but Paul George supposed to be that dude, right? That's what he said.
Listen,
he say it's a new year. When he got into it with Devin Booker, it ain't the same. It ain't the same me. After that press conference, that interview he had after that game.
Yeah,
he was talking about people think it was sweet because of last year.
Yeah. That was.
This ain't our topic for today. We'll talk about that another time, I guess. Well, not that specifically, but we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about Paul George again on this podcast.
Yeah, we will. But speaking of Paul, how about this? I'll say this about Paul George. I don't think anybody's issue with Paul George has ever been him in the regular season.
Nope. That's what I'm saying.
In the regular season, Paul George has always been great. It's just been the postseason where he's had issues. That's really it.
2 years ago, when he was in Oklahoma City, he was top 3 in MVP voting. And what happened in the playoffs? He went down bad with 5 points in an elimination game.
Yeah.
Against the Jazz.
Yeah. So hopefully Paul George hearing all the talk and even having certain NBA players talk to him a certain way, maybe that'll kind of motivate him. I feel like it's already kind of motivated him in the regular season, but again, like I said,
we need to see it in the playoffs. We don't believe you. Basically, is what I'm saying, because you've done this before. Like I said, you were just top 3 in MVP voting a few years ago.
That is true. I think he'll prove it, though. I think he'll prove it in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens come that time. Yeah. So today's topic is the NBA Power Rankings. Came out earlier this week. Mm-hmm. ESPN released their Power Rankings after 2 weeks on Monday. So today's Thursday, so we're a couple days behind. But I thought it'd be interesting to react to who they have in their top 10, and also to see who we kind of predicted to be in this top 10 also from our last podcast. So let's get started. So we're going to start with the bottom. We're going to start with 30 and work our way up to number 1. That sounds good? Okay, so number 30, we got the Detroit Pistons.
That makes sense.
Kind of self-explanatory.
This is the thing about the Detroit Pistons. Mm-hmm. Their one win is against the Celtics, right? And then they played the Celtics on the back-to-back, and they almost won the second game as well. And Jeremy Grant's showing a lot of promise, too. Like, he's showing that the reason he went to Denver is to become a number 1 option. I mean, the reason he left Denver for Detroit is to become a number 1 option on offense, and he's kind of proven that he could be a number 1 option. But it's not translating to wins, obviously, but he's putting the numbers together. Like, he's putting the numbers up. I think he's averaging 26 points or something like that in the last 5 games.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But
that's a good point about Jeremy Grant.
But them being 30 is obviously makes sense. They're 1-6. They're not very good, but they're showing like that. Like I said, they're showing promise. I still think they need to get away from Blake Griffin, but and get him somewhere that he can help a contender win. But Detroit Pistons at 30 makes sense. We can keep going.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I said. But then also, this is just after the first 2 weeks. Like, a lot can change between now and the end of this first half.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams, again, are just kind of, they need time to kind of get a feel for each other.
Yeah.
So this is just the beginning. Okay, so 30 we got Detroit. 29 got the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
I feel like this is kind of warranted too. Like, I feel like this is kind of the right spot for the Bulls for now. This is what I will say about the Bulls. They're a young team.
Mm-hmm. They got time to grow.
The biggest thing that they lack, yeah, exactly. The biggest thing they lack is inexperience. So with that being said, if you're a Bulls fan, you shouldn't really be upset with where they are right now. Like, this is kind of what you expect from them. But they got time, like you said, they have time to grow and time to learn each other and time to get better. The one thing I will say about the Bulls is that front office need to realize that they have a certified star in Zach LaVine.
Mm-hmm.
He is somebody who could really be a superstar by the end of the season, and I feel like they should try and do whatever they can to keep him happy and make sure that he stays in Chicago.
Yeah, they're 4-5 with wins against the Dallas Mavericks and the Portland Trail Blazers. That's 2 good wins that they have.
Yeah. Trust me, they'll be there. I think there's somebody who they're 29 now, but that will change by the end of this first half of the schedule.
I think
from what I've seen from the Bulls.
I think they'll be competing for a play-in spot when it's all said and done.
It will be too.
Yeah,
I think there will be too. Not gonna lie. Okay, so 28 we got Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
27 we got the Charlotte Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
26 we got the New York Knicks.
The Gordon Hayward, the Charlotte Hornets. Gordon Hayward, he had himself a game last night too. Remember? I mean, did you see that? He dropped 44 points.
Yeah. This is the only thing about the Hornets. They're just young too. Besides Gordon Hayward.
Besides Gordon Hayward, he went there. I guess he went there to become the number one option as well, to prove he can still play, and I guess he's doing that.
Yeah. Also, that check that they decided to roll his way, it was kind of hard to resist that bag. Like,
kind of hard to turn that down.
It's hard to turn down some money like that. So they're a team that I don't really know where Charlotte will end up. It's hard to say. Like, Gordon Hayward will be your number one option, but it's tough to really say where they'll end up. So 26, the New York Knicks.
The Knicks, man. What is they're the 5th seed in the East right now at 5-3. Julius Randle's playing like an all-star. Mm-hmm. Austin Rivers last night scored the last 14 points to win the game. They're a fun team to watch. They are a very fun team to watch. I wonder if they're going to be able to sustain that throughout the course of the whole season. But, like, this is one of the cases I was talking about where a team that hasn't played in a while are playing very well probably because they haven't played in a while.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they have a new coach. Tom Thibodeau's a good coach, and he probably got that team to buy in. He had like I said, Julius Randle playing like an all-star. Love to see it. I'm interested to see what the Knicks can do throughout the course of the regular season, and see if they can be competing for one of those play-in spots, as well as who did I say, the Chicago Bulls?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good point about the Knicks. I think they're better than everybody really thought they were going to be. Like, I can't tell if teams are playing them and are feeling like they're not going to play them as hard because of the Knicks, or if the Knicks are really just that good.
I don't know if the Knicks are that good. I think the Knicks are playing. They're hot right now, and they're playing well, and they're playing together. Okay. But I don't know if they're in the 5th seed right now. But I'm pretty sure they're not going to end up being the 5th seed in the playoff picture.
Okay.
Basically what I'm saying.
If I'm a Knicks fan, though, I got high hopes for this team. How about that?
Yeah, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm proud of this team, where they're playing so far.
Yeah. I think
they always have high hopes for their team. Yeah, they always have high hopes for their team no matter what. So for them to actually be playing well this time is a good sign, a good thing.
Yeah, it's a sign of good things to come in New York. So the Knicks are 26. Then at 25, you got the Washington Wizards.
I wouldn't have. The only reason I think they're above the Knicks is because of who they have on their team, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Because they're not playing better basketball than the Knicks right now.
Right. See, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say a lot of these teams, you'll see that they're above other teams mainly because of who they have on their team.
Yeah,
Not necessarily
free Bradley Beal, by the way.
I,
that man dropped 60 and lost.
Yeah, the Philly. Now listen, they lost to a good team though. Let's not. I want to say free Bradley Beal, but we got to give the Sixers props for how they've been playing this year, and we'll get to them later on in the list. But you lost to a good team. It's not like you lost to, I don't know, the Pistons when you dropped 60. I mean, you lost to the 76ers who really you've been playing the best basketball out of anybody this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see.
Probably.
I mean, it's frustrating for anybody to drop 60 and lose, but I would say that the Wizards really just need to keep their head up because they're a team that's got to figure it out too. I mean, it's Russell Westbrook's first year there. It's Bradley Beal's first year as like their premier player. Really, I mean, he kind of was last year too, but they're figuring it out. That's it. And you lost to a good team, and it was a close game. You know.
Yeah, they were winless for a long time. They finally got some wins though, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But also you got to look at who the Wizards have around Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Westbrook. They don't really have a whole lot.
Thomas Bryant, Hachimura, the Latvian Laser.
Mm-hmm. It's not
pretty much it.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't have a whole lot around them, so you got to kind of forgive that also. But I want to say free Bradley Beal, but listen, you dropped 60 and lost to a great team. If you would have dropped, again, like I said, if you would have dropped 60 and lost to a terrible team, I would be saying, okay, like this is going to be bad. But at least you lost to a really good team, and it was one of those 50-50 games that could have gone either way in those last few minutes. So I do feel bad that they lost. Mm-hmm. I do think that their is right for them to be at 25 because even you and I in our predictions had them for the first half of the season not really making it very high in the East, at least for this first half. But I think they'll definitely get it together come the second half of the season. So I still say be on the lookout for the Wizards, especially with the level of play that Bradley Beal is playing at right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then 24 we got the Minnesota Timberwolves. 23 we got the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, they are interesting too because they played the Lakers tough last game. Mm-hmm. They played the Lakers tough in the first half of the game. That the game before that, but they don't have Jaren Jackson. They don't have John Morant. But they're still going out there and they're still giving good teams a tough game. Right. So kudos to the Grizzlies for playing hard. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they really need their best player back, but we can judge the Grizzlies once they have full strength and playing together and have time to play together.
Right.
Probably the midway point of the season or whatever, we'll judge the Grizzlies then. But right now, I guess what's this 24?
They're 23.
23 is a good spot for them.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, 22 we got the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
They're kind of where they need to be too as of right now.
Yeah, they have really. It's hard, man, because they engaging with Warriors fans on Twitter is kind of hard. It's kind of tough because they think that I went back and forth with this guy that thinks that if they just had Klay Thompson with the roster they have, they just be the top of the league right now. But but you'll say that as a Warriors fan. But then if somebody says Klay Thompson is their most valuable player, then all hell breaks loose. There's a problem.
Okay, good point.
That don't make any sense to me. That don't correlate.
Right.
But Steph Curry, he's great. That's all the way you can put it. He have 62 points against the Portland Trailblazers? Yeah. And that's after like being triple and quadruple teamed all season, because like nobody else on his team can hit shots. He needs Steph Curry's best when he has somebody on his team that can also make shots. That's pretty much anybody, but Steph Curry, like when there's nobody else that can make shots, Steph Curry's effectiveness, his not production but effectiveness, it like drops significantly.
True.
And he just needs like what they thought that Kelly Oubre could be. I never thought that he could replace Klay Thompson or anything, but he just needs somebody that can also make shots.
Right. That's a good point. You know what's weird to me is if you go back and watch Draymond in 2016, he was hitting threes pretty consistently, especially in that Game 7 they had. I don't know what Draymond
in the playoffs,
but
I don't know what happened.
I watched them play last night, play the Clippers, and Draymond had wide open threes and really wouldn't take them.
He wouldn't take them at all. Yeah, I know.
I was like, man, what happened to your shooting? Like he was a legitimate threat back in 2016, 2015 from three, especially in 2016. I think that was probably maybe one of his best years when it came to shooting the three. And now, like, people either leave him open or he won't even take it. No.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. But you bring up really good points. I guess they really thought. I mean, nobody can really replace Klay. Let's just be honest. It's hard to replace Klay. It don't matter who you try to put out there. He's just one of the best shooters in the league, right behind Steph Curry. So
and by me saying that Klay may be one of their most valuable players, not saying that he's their best player, because Steph Curry's their best player. But like they need what Klay brings a lot to. Klay brings a lot to the table, more than a casual fan would see. The casual fan would see Klay and he shoots. He's a shooter, but like Klay does. He plays defense. He would probably be the best defender on that team if he was there, even including Draymond at this point.
Good point. I think I agree with that.
Especially best all-ball defender.
Yep.
But yeah. They need Klay Thompson, but also saying that they need Klay Thompson with the rest of this roster, their ceiling would still be like the 4th seed in this Western Conference, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, 4th seed is still pretty high, especially in the West.
Yeah, but like that. Yeah, but like their fans are like, oh, they'll be number one. Like, no, they wouldn't be number one. At
the end of the day, I think that a lot of people are doubting Steph to really make them a playoff contender. I don't doubt him that much. I think he can make them a playoff contender. I think it'd be weird if he didn't. Like, it would be shocking to me. I think a lot of people wouldn't be shocking if that happened. It would be shocking to me if they didn't end up making the playoffs. But it would also be interesting to see like what they would try to change going into next year if they didn't make the playoffs this year. Also be interesting to see how many people still feel the same, like you said, about Klay Thompson, and seeing like, wow, the Warriors didn't make the playoffs this year even though they had a healthy Steph. So I think 22 right now for them is pretty accurate. I do think it'll change though. They're another team who I know for sure will go up, at least in my opinion. Okay, 21, we got the Sacramento Kings. 20 got the San Antonio Spurs. 19 got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland Cavaliers are very shocking this year, not gonna lie.
Yeah, they've also been playing very well. That Colin Sexton and Darius Garland duo is very good.
Yeah,
they're probably the smallest backcourt in the league though. But they offensively they play.
That's what I was about to say. That don't even matter because offensively they're lethal right now. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Darius Garland. He's very underrated, man. But so is Colin Sexton. But that's because they play for Cleveland. Let's be real. Nobody really watches Cleveland's games. They're not on TV that much. I mean, they're kind of in the same boat as the Kings. You don't really see them as much, but man, the way Cleveland is starting out the season, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
They're better than the Kings.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, they're one of those teams who don't get enough recognition, really. Like, you really only see them if they're playing a big team. Like, if they're playing like the Lakers or something, then that's like, oh, okay, now you see them. But other than that, you don't really see them or get it as much. They don't get as much as they should. But I mean, them starting out the season hot like this is something to watch out for.
Did you notice that JaVale McGee especially Colin Sexton's averaging 25 points? Did you notice that especially like early in the preseason, in the first few games of the regular season, JaVale McGee was kind of doing whatever he wanted to do. Like he went coast to coast with the ball, he's shooting threes. And
I noticed that.
That was pretty funny to me. That was just pretty funny to me. That's all.
I mean, on that team, can you really go wrong? I mean, that's just how I feel the way that team is set up. Can you really go wrong with trying things like that? But I'm glad to see JaVale McGee having fun, though. Because, I mean, he was with the Lakers last season, won a chip, and then unfortunately had to get shipped off to Cleveland. But he don't look down. Like, he still looks happy. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm glad to see.
JaVale's a good dude. I like
That's
JaVale.
what I'm saying. How can you not like JaVale McGee? He's always happy. He's always a good teammate no matter where he goes. So I'm glad to see him happy. Also glad to see this Cavs team how they're playing right now. I hope they can keep this up. I hope they aren't just hot right now and then they end up falling off later on. I hope they keep up this level of play. So that was 19. So 18, we got the Toronto Raptors. They're struggling.
Yeah.
They're struggling.
They're looking to be 18, in my opinion. They're 18 because they're Toronto.
Man, they are struggling. It's just the regular. I mean, it's just the first 2 weeks of the season, so it's not something to really freak out about. But I'm kind of shocked. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Thought they would be a little better to start out the season, but they're one of those teams where no matter what, as long as they make it into the playoff, they can make some noise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with. Like the way they're playing at. Like they're playing out of Florida instead of Toronto. They're not at home.
That's a good point. That could be it. That's a good point.
That has something. I'm not saying that they would be like where the Sixers are at the top of the conference if they were playing in Toronto, but like I think it has something to do with it. Psychologically.
It could. I didn't even think about that actually. I completely forgot that they're not playing in Toronto. You're right. That could be it. Maybe they just need some time to get used to the environment. It happens. All right, and then at that 17th spot, we got the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of in a good spot.
Well, they in a good spot relative to what they've played like, but you would expect a little bit more from their talent level on that team. Their talent level on that team is better than the talent level they had last season, in my opinion. Christian Wood's been a monster. He's been probably one of their best. He's been one of their best players. I did not know Christian Wood had this in him, but I'm glad to see it. I'm rooting for a guy like Christian Wood because I don't think he was even drafted, was he?
Christian Wood may have gone undrafted.
I think he went undrafted, and for him to be playing at this high level like he's playing, I'm happy for him. I feel like the Rockets really just need like James Harden to buy in, because if James Harden buys into the system and the team, I think they can go places. Well, at least they can be in the playoffs. They can be in the top 4 seed in the playoffs like usual. Because John Wall still. Boogie Cousins, he hasn't really been. I really don't expect Boogie Cousins to be Boogie Cousins of yesteryear at this point, but he's still like producing something at least. He's, if nothing else, being another big body for this Houston Rockets team that they did not have last year when they traded Clint Capella to the Hawks. So I think the Rockets have the opportunity to climb and be one of the top 5 seeds in the Western Conference. But only time will tell. We'll see. I'm just happy for Christian Wood and what he's been able to do this season. And happy for John Wall that he's back and healthy. Because because he hasn't been playing like he's been on the mini retirement. I did not know John Wall would come back like this, but he has, and kudos to him.
Right. I definitely agree with everything you said. Christian Wood is definitely a big pickup, a great pickup, which I think everybody kind of agreed with. I think everybody was kind of like, okay, the Rockets do need a big man, but you also get a big man that's got a lot of skill.
Yeah.
But to me, he's gone above and beyond what everybody thought really right now, which is great for the Rockets. He is a great pickup for them. He is going to help them out a lot come postseason time for sure.
Mm-hmm. I saw this video on Instagram of like him comparing him and Anthony Davis, like going move for move, like that video of Michael Jordan and Kobe going move for like one thing Kobe did, like Michael Jordan did. Obviously, I'm not saying that Christian Wood's Anthony Davis, but their games are similar apparently, and he's doing very well for himself.
Wow, that's crazy. Hey, listen, if you are a big man and you can be compared to Anthony Davis, you're doing something right.
You're doing something right, yeah, exactly.
Anthony Davis is definitely his skill level, his skill set is crazy.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is a very skilled big man. So for Christian Wood to kind of be compared the same way, that's really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up about the Rockets really just need James Harden to buy in, because that's something I was going to mention.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's sleep. I know that they got a new coach, have a new GM. Russ wanted out, so I know he probably still wants out right now. But I think he's sleeping on this team heavily.
Yeah.
And I think he'll end up regretting it if he doesn't try and give this team a chance first. Mm-hmm. Which I mean he's doing right now. Like you can see.
It depends on where he goes, if he regrets it or not. If the Rockets care about his preferences and send him to a contender, then he probably won't regret it that much. But if they don't, which they shouldn't, I don't think, at this point.
Yeah.
And sends them to somewhere that aren't contender, that's going to give them the best offer, like a lot of draft picks or whatever they try to get from him, then he may regret not buying into this team.
I mean, that is true. I just think he should. I think, like you said, I think he should buy into this team. I think this team is definitely more talented than they were last year, like you said. And I think come playoff time, this team will give a team like the Lakers a lot more trouble than the Houston Rockets team did last year.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Especially with John Wall looking like John Wall again.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. If John Wall didn't look like himself right now, I would say, ooh, okay, it is time to move on. But since John Wall looks like himself and Christian Wood is playing like one of the best bigs in the league, then I think that this is what he has around him right now in Houston is great. Mm-hmm. So I hope that he does eventually decide to buy in, because like you said, I think that they can do a lot of damage come postseason time. Right. Okay, so that was the Rockets at 17. At 16, we got the Orlando Magic.
Okay. That Markelle Fultz injury sting, man.
Oh, I know, man.
Yeah, he
seemed
tore
like
his
kid can't catch a break.
Right. But at least he got paid. He got his money last offseason, or whenever he got his money. And it's not a contract year where you'll have to try to earn his money again. He's already been paid, so all he has to focus on is getting back to being the best version of himself.
That is very true. I didn't even think about that. That's true. But the Magic probably take a hit without Markelle Fultz. So them being at 16 now, I think they'll end up probably going down as the season progresses and goes on.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see what happens. At 15, we got the Denver Nuggets.
They're an interesting case too, because what you think that they be higher with the way Jokic is playing. He's averaging 25, 12, and 12,
which is unheard of. That's crazy.
Which is unbelievable. Jamal Murray's kind of taking a step back from the bubble. He was a superstar in the bubble. I don't think he's played on that superstar level this season as of yet. That could change, but we'll see. Michael Porter Jr. is looking like the most improved player, like we both thought that he would be. I'm assuming you said Michael Porter Jr. was your most improved player for this season, right?
He either was or he was my honorable mention. One of the two.
Right. He's averaging 20 points as well. They have Will Barton back, so that's a good thing. So this Nuggets team, I'm not necessarily worried about the Nuggets. I think they'll climb in the Western Conference. They haven't been winning as many games as you think they win. But like I said earlier in the podcast, teams that went far in the playoffs aren't playing. Some of the teams that went far in the playoffs aren't playing as well as of yet because, they just stopped playing. So maybe once they get their legs under them, well, some of them already have their legs under them, like Jokic. Like he's been playing out of his mind,
right?
But once they get their legs under them, they could be a top 2 seed again. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that. I think when it comes down to the Nuggets, especially what they were able to prove last year, I'm not too worried about them starting out. It's early, early on in the season. We're only in week 3 now. I know they'll get it together in due time. So,
and the thing about Jokic playing as well, he can play like this through after his prime. Dude, what is he gonna lose? He gonna lose athleticism? He ain't got no athleticism to lose.
That is true.
Like, he's always gonna be able to shoot. He's always gonna be able to pass. He's always gonna be smarter than everybody else. And Jokic is one of my favorite players in the league, bro.
Yeah.
And he just does. It makes everything look so simple, so easy.
I was about to say he just makes it look easy for sure.
Yeah.
Think he's the best big in the league.
It's almost easy to where you're not impressed by it sometimes, but then you look at it and it's like, wow.
That's very true.
It's like sneaky impressive.
That is very true. I have to agree. So yeah, I think we can both agree that even though Denver's at 15 right now, that'll definitely change throughout the season for sure. They'll definitely be.
They miss Jeremy Grant though. Definitely, they miss Jeremy Grant's offense and his defense to a certain extent, and they also miss Torrey Craig's defense a little bit.
That's a good point. I almost forgot about Jeremy Grant. I do definitely think they miss him on that offensive end for sure. Yeah. And it's kind of showing through these first 2 weeks. But again, they're a good enough team to where I know they'll make those adjustments that they need later on. They're just trying to figure that out right now. So they'll get better. At 14, we got the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like that kind of makes sense if they don't have Porzingis. Luka has missed a couple games. But they're another team that I feel like will get it together in due time.
Yeah, they have one of the best players in the league, MVP candidate, another one of my favorite players. It's something about them foreign white guys, man. They do it for me.
Yeah, they're pretty good, right?
Them current ones. Those two. Jokic
and Luka.
And Luka.
Porzingis is pretty good too, though.
Yeah, but he ain't doing it for me.
His only thing has been injuries. That's been it. Really, that's been his only problem these last couple of years.
Yeah, he ain't doing it for me like Jokic and Luka, though.
That is true.
They on another level. Like, they both, I feel like you can make the case for both of them being top 5 players. If they have the complementary pieces around them, imagine if they was together on the same. We're not even gonna do that. Let's go.
Oh man, that'd be kind of wild.
Yeah, Dallas is gonna climb once they get Porzingis back and they get the flow of the offense and defense or whatever. But get some playing time together is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, them being at 14 probably won't stick.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. Okay, at 13 we've got the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, they're fun. They have Brandon Ingram and Zion. Brandon Ingram's averaging like 25, 7 and 5.5. Zion's averaging like 21 and 8. So they'll be competing for a playoff spot, definitely.
I think so too. I think they'll be in that play-in tournament for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Don't really see their ceiling being much higher than that, but I mean they're young. These are young players, so they'll get there. It's not really too much to worry about. They'll get there. At 12 we got the Portland Trail Blazers.
Okay, they have Dame and CJ. We thought that they had the best offense. I mean the best group around Damian Lillard that he's ever had, and I still think that, and I still think that they'll probably be in the playoffs, probably a solid top 7-6 seed, in my opinion. What you think?
I say a 7 seed for sure. Just the only reason why I say that is because I mean I see the way they play it. I mean, to me, it's just like last year. Like there's really not much difference in the way they play offensively and defensively, from this year compared to last year. So I don't know what it is about the Trailblazers, but they just seem like the same team almost every year.
I think that they're better than last year. I think because they're healthier than last year. I think they would have been higher than the 8 seed if they were healthy all season last year. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, basically what I'm saying is they would have been last year what they're probably going to end up being this year if they were healthy last year.
Okay. So you see a solid 6 or 7 seed from them.
I see a solid 6 or 7 seed for them.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. So to me, their 12 spot is kind of warranted. I do think that they'll end up being higher though. And then when the next couple of rankings come out, but it's Portland. They'll be in the playoffs. How about that? I don't really have them not making it. I think they'll make it. We'll see what happens to them in the playoffs. But yeah, 12 is kind of right for Portland. At number 11, we got the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, that's a surprise because they've been a surprise all season. They've been fun. I mean, I think I expected them to be fun, but I didn't think they'd win as many games as they have. What is their record? Hold on.
So at the time of this coming out, they were 4-2, but that of course was on Monday.
They're 4-4 right now. So
okay, so lost their last two since.
But they had that fun little series, that fun little game with Brooklyn, that they won one of the games, and they were competitive in the second game. So
right.
They're a fun team to watch. Trae Young is always going to be a fun player to watch. They have a mentor for him and Rajon Rondo, the perfect mentor. I feel like.
Right.
They have John Collins back. He's playing very well. They still have the young guys Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter and Kevin Huerter. They're all contributing. They got Boban Bogdanovic.
Yep.
Bogdanovic. Is it It's Bogdan.
I say Bogdanovic, but I don't know if that's right.
It's Bogdanovic. Like his first name is the first half of his last name.
Oh, that's what you were trying to. Okay, I thought you were trying to pronounce his last name. My bad.
Nah, I was trying to say
his full name.
His full name.
Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, he's been a nice addition to that team. Gallinari coming off the bench is a good thing for them. I like the Hawks, man. They're fun to watch. I get all their games because proximity. So I've been watching them.
Right.
So yeah, Hawks at 11. Kind of shocking, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's something that'll change. I don't really know where they'll end up.
Yeah, I think they'll go down, but
I think they'll end up going down a little bit, but then I think they'll go back up. Especially since they were 4-2 to start this week, and now they're 4-4. But it's kind of expected to happen. They are still a really young team, also, so they'll find their way. They'll find their path. Then the number 10, we got the Boston Celtics.
Yeah. They have one of the best young duos in the NBA, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I don't think they're going to stay at 10 at all. I think they're going to rise because the thing about Boston, they're always going to be competitive. They're always going to be the talent that they have.
Yep.
Is very good. Like I said, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, then they're missing Kemba Walker as well. So once he comes back, they're going to be a little bit better as well. So I'm not really worried about the Boston Celtics. They're going to be a solid top 3 or 4 seed in the Eastern Conference with a chance to go to the finals.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. First of all, we gotta give a shout out to Jaylen Brown with the way he's playing right now. That's the biggest thing.
He took I was expecting him to take a leap, but not a 26-point per game lead.
That's what I'm saying. I wasn't expecting
and I think
big of a leap either. Oh yeah,
I think it's definitely sustainable.
Oh yeah, I think he could do this throughout the rest of the regular season for sure, and then in the playoffs get even better or even maintain this level. Because even him maintaining this level in the playoffs is good for them. Right. Especially since for sure come playoff time they have Kemba Walker back. So shout out to Jaylen Brown for the way he's playing. I know their record didn't fully reflect how good he's really playing, but I agree with you. I think they'll definitely be in that top 3 seed in the East by the end of the year for sure. And I think they're gonna be out for revenge this year come playoff time for sure.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing about them. I know that. I mean, just a couple of years ago, they were one game away from making it to the finals.
Yeah.
And I know that
they almost beat LeBron to do it.
I know. I mean, that's really the only reason why they didn't get there, because he had a crazy game LeBron, 7. Yeah. Exactly. So, to me, Jaylen Brown playing at this level kind of shows.
And then they were rookies back then, weren't they?
I think they were. I think you're right. Well, maybe not. I don't think Jaylen Brown
one
was.
One of them rookies. Yeah, Jason Tatum was a rookie. Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think
was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jason Tatum was, but not Jaylen Brown. But I just think they're out to prove something. And Jaylen Brown playing at this level right now shows me that. So I think that they're going to make a lot of noise come playoff time in the East. So they're going to be a team to watch. At number 9, we got the Indiana Pacers.
Okay.
A little bit of a shock to me for the Pacers to start out this hot. But Sabonis is playing great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sabonis, he's proven that Sabonis has proven that he's one of the best underrated players in the NBA.
Oh yeah, you know what's crazy?
And so is Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is one of the most underrated point guards in the NBA too. Like, I know Malcolm Brogdon because he was one of the 50, 40, 90 guys in the NBA when he was with the Bucks.
Right.
Wasn't he with the Bucks?
Yep.
Yeah. But now he's out here averaging 24 points and 7 assists. And I'm just like, okay, Malcolm Brogdon, I see you. Yeah, that team's solid. They have a solid core of players, and I think that they'll be good, especially with Sabonis back. If he could stay healthy, he's their best player. And if Victor Oladipo's bought in, like I remember he won it in the off season, but if he's bought in, like he's one of their best players as well. They can play together. They can shock some people in the Eastern Conference.
I agree with you. The only thing that sucks was that injury to TJ Warren.
Yeah.
That kind of took a hit.
That's unfortunate,
especially because he was definitely one of the hottest players in the bubble. He was playing on another level in the bubble for sure.
Yeah.
And I felt like that would kind of carry on into this year. Maybe not on that same exact level, but up in the way he plays in the regular season period. What happened this year? And unfortunately, him going down is bad. But I mean, you got Oladipo looking like his old self. You got
that was one of your concerns to start the season. What Oladipo look like himself?
Exactly, and so far he looks like it to me.
So far, so good. Yeah.
So that's big, and like you said, Oladipo buying in and wanting to be in Indy still, and it seems like that's true so far. And then Sabonis finally getting the recognition he deserves. Because to be honest, Sabonis has been playing at this level kind of the last 2 years. He just really hasn't gotten the recognition for it. That's it. So it's good to see him getting the recognition and still playing at his high level, and then see Malcolm Brogdon playing as well as he's playing. The Pacers are a real threat out east for sure.
Yeah,
like for sure, and I'm excited to see what they can do for the remainder of the season. That's going to be interesting. So I think they're good right there at that 9 spot. They can definitely go up, but they can also go back too. So we'll see what they do. For number 8, we got the Utah Jazz.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of up here just because of who's on that roster.
What was their record when this was released?
When this was released on Monday, they were 4-2.
Okay, so they're 4-4 as well. What was the Pacers' record when this was released? 4-2 as well.
4-2 also. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 6-2 now.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. But see, again, this is just power rankings after the first 2 weeks.
Right.
So with the Jazz, I think they'll be in the I think they'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they'll be in the playoffs. The Jazz are always at least solid.
Yeah. Mike Conley.
They might not be the sexiest team, but they're always solid.
Yeah, true. Mike Conley is playing really good for them right now, for sure.
Yeah, because I thought he was washed after last season. Mike Conley looked like he was done.
Yeah,
but it looks like he's redeeming himself now, which is good to see. I always like to see players redeem themselves, no matter who it is.
Agreed. It's good to watch. He's playing out of his mind.
I mean, unless it's Paul George. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
They're gonna be on you for that. So with the Jazz, they're at the 8th spot, but I think they'll drop, to be honest with you. I think they'll drop, but I think when it comes to making that push for the playoffs, they'll do what they can to get the seed that they want. So they'll be just fine. They'll be in the playoffs. For that 7th spot, we got the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, they're playing real good basketball.
They are. First of all, on the offensive end and the defensive end, but on the offensive end, Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they play really well together.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, they've capitalized on the momentum they took out from the bubble and the momentum of having probably the best addition to a team in the offseason, hands down. Like, was there a better addition to a team? Not saying like re-signs or whatever. I'm saying like a better addition to a team from one team to another than Chris Paul to Phoenix.
Okay, that's a good point.
In the offseason.
That's a good point.
I don't think there was. Like, Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers was very good. Like, he's playing out of his mind right now. I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing. But Chris Paul to Phoenix has put Phoenix back back into contention, like playoff contention. Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers, like, put Lakers from 1-1, right? So, like, that's really not that much of a. I agree.
I get what you're saying. To me, I think the biggest thing that's been happening with the Suns this year so far is I think a lot of teams have kind of slept on how hard they play people.
Oh yeah,
I think there's some teams who have gone into a couple games not expecting Phoenix to play them as hard, and then they get down to that fourth quarter, and now all of a sudden, Chris Paul and Devin Booker are giving you nothing but buckets and hitting crazy clutch shots when needed for that team.
And their roster makes sense. Like that, DeAndre Ayton down there, he's doing his thing. Jay Crowder as a 3-and-D wing, doing his thing right. Cam Johnson and Malik Beasley. Is it Malik Beasley?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Ain't that his name? Or is that the guy from the Hornets? Who's the guy from the Hornets? Mikal Bridges. That's the one. He's on the Hornets, right?
Were you thinking of Malik Monk?
No, I'm thinking of who's hold on. Because these names are very similar.
Okay. There is two Malik. I didn't know if you were thinking about two Maliks because there is Malik Monk also. But I think Malik Beasley is right.
It's Mikal Bridges.
It's Mikal Bridges, okay.
Yeah, he's been playing very good defense.
Yeah.
He's been a very good defender for this team.
The Suns' defense is what I was saying. To me, that's been the most shocking part. I think we know what Devin Booker brings to the table offensively. I think most people who've been watching know what Chris Paul brings to the table offensively. But to me, what's been the biggest thing is their defense. Their defense has actually been really good.
Yeah. And then they also took Cameron Payne from being Russell Westbrook dad partner to actually putting some work in as a good rotation player for them. So I like that team a lot.
I do too. I think the people are going to kind of sleep on them the way a lot of people slept on Miami last year. And I think, to be honest, they'll make people pay.
I mean, they're not going to make people pay to the extent that Miami did, but...
not out west.
I see what you mean by that.
It's tough to do out west, but I just think when it comes to people just thinking that they're going to be a cakewalk type of game, like this is a game where I can have everybody low managing, not worry about it. And I think they'll make people pay, and that's how they'll rack up their wins. So I think the Phoenix Suns are kind of that 7th spot is good for them. I think they kind of earned it too. Okay, and then at the 6th spot, we got the Miami Heat.
What was their record when
2-3.
this was released? They were 2. I think this was strictly because they went to the finals, because they haven't been playing very well. I mean, I think they won their last game against the Celtics, or did they lose? I think they might have lost, or they just played them close. Yeah, they lost, but they've been without. They're 3-4 right now. They've been without Jimmy Butler. I feel like this is a little high for them, but like I said, it's respect. It's respect from last season that they're giving.
Right, because nobody really gave them any respect last season. They kind of snatched their respect from people last year. So I agree. That's why they're at that 6th spot. It's because of their name, what they were able to do last year. Even though last year was just like a couple months ago. It's because of what they were able to accomplish. So I agree with that. I do think they'll drop. But from what the Heat showed us last year, it doesn't matter where they end up seeding-wise. They don't really care. They'll play anybody. They'll be an 8 seed and play a 1 seed. They don't care. As long as they're in that playoff, they'll make some noise. I think that's all they really care about. They're not.
Presumably.
I don't think they're a team that's going to be big on their regular season record anyway. They just care about making it in that playoff. So I do think they'll drop, but I don't think it'll be anything that they need to worry about, to be honest.
Yeah, drop in the next ranking.
Basically. Yeah, I mean, they could drop in the next few, to be honest. Like, I just don't. They don't have to be in the top 10 in power rankings for them to be a great team come playoff time. And that's what they showed everybody last year. I think they'll be the same way this year. I think teams will sleep on them again this year into the playoffs. So, okay, and for the number 5 spot, we got the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, pretty makes sense.
I kind of agree. At the time that this ranking came out on Monday, they were 3-3.
Yeah, they're 5-3 now, so they're on a 2-game winning streak. They're probably going to climb in the next one. But you never worry about Milwaukee in the playoffs. I mean, in the regular season, they're going to get there.
Yeah, of course. To be honest, I feel like they'll be the 1 seed coming out the regular season again in the East. Yeah. Again, they're a team where just their issues come in the postseason. They don't have any issues in the regular season. It's just the postseason is where questions come about with them.
They obviously got shooters now, apparently, because like they hit the most threes in NBA history or something like that.
That was kind of crazy.
When they blew out Miami.
Yeah. Speaking of which, DiVincenzo, is that how you say his last name?
Dante DiVincenzo
up a lot for them this year.
That's because like they got rid of Russell Wilson. I mean, got rid of what's his face, Eric Bledsoe. He was able to step up in that spot.
Them being at that 5 spot is kind of warranted. I do think their team is going to end up climbing the rankings throughout the year. I don't see them dropping down anything below like 6 or 7. They're gonna aim for that top 2 seed in the East. So they'll climb up in the power rankings for sure. They'll be in that top 3 in the power rankings probably throughout the year. For our number 4 spot, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Now, at the time that this came out, this is 4.
Yeah, this is also like respect to Kyrie and KD.
Right.
They're 4-4 now, but this is also respect to. They looked very good in the first game against the Warriors. They looked like they were going to be unstoppable, and then they turns out that they don't play defense. They're pretty bad on defense. They're good on offense. I feel like they think they can outscore people, which they probably can. Like they have probably the most unstoppable starting 5 in the NBA.
Arguably. Yeah. Go ahead. This is the only issue I see right now, and again, it's only 2 weeks in, but that I see right now with Kyrie and KD. They remind me of LeBron and Kyrie on the Cavs in 2017, where offensively they were crazy, but defensively that team was just bad. And like the drop off from Kyrie and KD to the third option is huge. Like the gap in between your first and second option to your third option is really big. And I feel like that's something that might be an issue later on in the season.
But Karis LeVert ain't
he ain't no slouch. But then Dinwiddie just got hurt, and Dinwiddie to me was big to me. I feel like that's somebody that they definitely need down the stretch. I mean, he'll be back, but so I don't know. But also they lack experience too. Like think about it on that team who has deep playoff experience besides KD and Kyrie.
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, but it's DeAndre Jordan. I mean, he just got benched. Did he not? He just got benched the other night for Jared Allen. Did he not?
Yeah, he did. And Jared Allen went out there and bullied. He went out there and bullied.
Exactly. That's my point. So that's the reason why I'm saying like the drop off after KD and Kyrie is kind of experience wise is huge. And that's something that I got you. Something to look out for later on in the season for them. Maybe not right now, but they're also a team that I think will be fine. I'll tell you what, they're going to do whatever they can to keep them in the top 5 to 10 in the power rankings. I'll tell you that right now. Like you said, it's a respect thing for KD and Kyrie. It's what they've done. It's what they've proven in their career. So I guess that 4 spot's it's good for them, you know. So at that 3 spot, we got the Philadelphia 76ers. At the time,
they're playing real well. They're playing real well. They're 7-1 right now. What was the record at the time of this? Okay, so they just won 2 more games. Yeah, they're playing real well. Like I said, I like the addition of Danny Green and Seth Curry to space the floor out for that team. Danny Green's not shooting well. He's only shooting like 22%.
Yeah, but Seth Curry on the other hand is balling.
Yeah, Seth Curry is balling, and that's what they needed. And Ben Simmons is willing to shoot a little bit more now, so that's helping them out a little bit too.
Yep. I mean, I had them being, up here for my preseason, for my predictions anyway, for the first half. I said that I felt like Doc Rivers will be out to prove something from what happened, with his stint with the Clippers. Then I feel like Embiid and Simmons are kind of tired of their playoff woes. Then they also just got Daryl Morey from the Rockets. They were able to pick up Seth Curry. They were able to pick up Danny Green and get Dwight Howard. So I just felt like they would be a revamped team and that they would come out with energy.
a different energy. It's good to see this Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons pairing work out a little bit better. But it's just 2 weeks. We gotta see what happens. We gotta revisit it in like midway point of the season, see if they're still here, see if they're still healthy, see if they're still playing well. Because there's a possibility that they might not.
That is true. To me,
that's what any of these teams really.
To me, the biggest thing for the 76ers is just being healthy. I think they got the right coach. I think they got the right GM. I think they've got the right players around Embiid and Simmons. It's just if Embiid and Simmons can stay healthy, I think they can maintain this level of play. I think they could fight for that 1 seed in the East with the Bucks.
Call it now. They making the final.
Okay, it's way too early to call that. It is way too early to call that. I don't know that for sure. But they could. How about this? Ask me that question by the end of this first half of the season. Ask me that again, and I'll give you an answer then. I can't really now through 2 weeks. It's way too early to say. But I kind of feel like this is how they will start out the season. I feel like they can end it this way too, but we will see. At that 2 spot, we got the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that they have them over like the Sixers. I think this is also respect for Kawhi Leonard. Well, respect because you expect the Clippers to be good, which they are. I'm not saying they're bad, but like the 76ers, they have a loss like the Clippers had a loss. I mean, granted, they were missing Kawhi, but they're supposed to have another superstar. We talked about this earlier in the episode. We're not going to get back into it. But I think they're definitely a top 5 team in this power rankings. But right now, they're 5. They're 5-3, I believe. No, they're 6-3 right now.
When this came out, they were 5-2, so they got one more win, one more loss.
Right. So it's weird because it feels like they only show up against the Lakers.
Oh, just like last year.
Yeah. They only give a maximum effort against the Lakers. Did you know that Kawhi just played his first back-to-back in like 3 or 4 years?
In 3 or 4 years, really? It's been that long?
Yeah, since 2017.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I did not know that. That's a long time, man. To not play back-to-back that many years. Wow.
That Golden State game was his first back-to-back in like 3.5 years.
Well, I don't see him making it a habit, so.
Maybe they got him to buy in more. Like we said, buy in. That's all. I
mean, they do have Ty Lue. It does seem like Ty Lue gets a lot of respect from everybody on the floor and from those players. So, but I kind of agree with you. I think them being at this 2 spot is a respect thing. I don't necessarily think that they should be 2. I don't think they should be over the 76ers right now. I do think that, of course, they were a better team to end the year last year than the 76ers, but I just think the 76ers are playing a little better offensively and defensively than the Clippers right now. But this is only through 2 weeks, so, things change all the time. So we'll see what happens with the Clippers. I do think that they will remain, because I'm pretty much all last year they remained as like a top 5 seed in the power rankings.
Right.
Anyway. I think they'll be the same way this year. I don't think they'll drop below like that 5 spot in the power rankings, to be honest with you. I mean, they are a good team still. They just gotta get their issues figured out off the court and with certain teammates, and to stop putting all their attention on the Lakers so much. But I don't see them dropping anything below a 5 spot or a 6 spot in the power rankings all year. I think they'll be pretty much what they were.
They'll be solid in that area.
Yeah, they're not. So I just don't think the 2 spot is warranted, just because I think the 76ers are playing a little better than them. But it's
I feel like
they're at 2.
I honestly feel like the 76ers are playing the best basketball in the league. So I feel like 76ers should be number 1, honestly. But we all know who that number 1 team is.
Of course, and that 1 spot is the Lakers.
Think about it. Go ahead. You go first.
Go first. Okay. So the Lakers are the 1 spot, of course. It's pretty much because it's a respect thing too, for sure. They're the defending champs.
Definitely. Because like
at the time that this came out, they were 5-2. But I don't know if they're playing the best basketball out of anybody else.
They absolutely are. They are sleepwalking. They do not care.
They are definitely coasting through the year for sure.
they treating this like it's the preseason. I haven't had very much fun watching them this year. The players, the teams that they've played lately hasn't been helping Memphis. No disrespect to the Memphis Grizzlies and the San Antonio Spurs, but that's all we've seen for the last 4 games, and I'm bored with it. We got the Spurs again tonight. I'm bored with it. I think they're bored with it, and they've just been coasting the whole time. And I'm just like, oh my
pretty
god.
much.
But they're still a top 5 offense and top 5 defense in the league.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
So like once they start trying, like imagine this team once they start trying. Like I still don't see nobody beating them in a 7-game series at this point in the season. Even how bored they are playing basketball. Right. But it is what it is, man. Once they get their feet up under them, and once they start getting to the middle of the season, I guess, and start caring a little bit more, they'll turn it on and they'll.
Of course, I think the biggest thing about the Lakers that they showed us last year was that they're one of the few teams that can flip a switch.
Yeah, they've definitely flipped the switch this year, because I don't think they could do it necessarily last year, but this year they've done it. Because
I feel like they did just because they upped their defense.
Defensively, definitely they could flip the switch on.
Yeah, that's really how I mean it.
I don't think
a team can really flip the switch like the Lakers can. Like I don't think a team could coast as hard as they're coasting right now, and then play as hard as they played last year in the playoffs this year. I don't think there's really that many teams that can have that same luxury.
I don't know if they have that same defensive switch this year, but they have that switch offensive.
Okay,
because LeBron, LeBron, at some point in these last few games, he's like, all right, it's time to win. Let me stop playing around, and he went and won the game. And the same thing with Anthony Davis in some of these games. And they're shooting, boy. They're shooting like 40% for the season.
I know. Wesley Matthews come alive.
Yeah, because he started off bad too. I thought he was washed. Like I was like, oh my god. and then he went 6 for 6 in that one game, and he ain't turned back since.
I know, yeah. He's showing up. That Marc Gasol hitting from deep.
Mm-hmm. Marc Gasol is passing this. That's the funnest thing to watch this season is Marc Gasol and his passing, and people knowing that just to give Bart the ball and go, he's gonna find you again. But kind of like with LeBron, like Mark's gonna find the open player. Like he just needs to stay on the floor. He fouls too much.
He fouls too much because he don't move his feet on defense, man.
He's a great defender. He's a former defensive player of the year, but his footing is like he's like stuck in the mud sometimes. But he fouls. But on the offensive end, Marc Gasol is like just what the doctor wanted for me.
Oh yeah,
like, he ain't even got to average no 10. His averages don't even have to be good. Like he could just make 3 or 4 passes like he does, and then sometimes when he makes a pass, somebody else makes a better pass to get a better shot. And that works out even better than his pass. So like he's making an impact out there, kind of like Alex Caruso did last season. And who's also I've missed Alex Caruso. He hasn't been playing in the last 5 or 6 games as well. So we might get him back tonight. But like I said, yeah, they've been really sleepwalking this early part of the regular season.
Yeah, I agree.
But they've also been very good at some points. So, like I said,
yeah, of course,
Kuzma's look good, KCP's look good, like you said, Wesley Matthews look good. Anthony Davis and LeBron are both like coasting.
Schroeder's look
Dennis
good.
Schroeder's look good. Montrezl Harrell hasn't looked as good as I would like, but I think he'll get there. But not really worried about him. Who else?
Yeah, he'll find his footing on this team.
Who am I forgetting?
He just has to get used to the way they run.
Nobody.
I mean,
that's pretty much it.
THC.
Yeah. He's one of the players. Like when he gets the ball, he's trying to score.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, his best minutes are gonna have to be like with the stars on the bench, because once he gets the ball, he's looking to get to the basket, to get to the rim, which he's good at, but yeah, he's one of those type of players.
He's got to find himself. The biggest thing is he has to find his role with the starters. That's really it. Because when he's with the starters, he understands that like they like ball movement.
Mm-hmm.
They like to move it around. Like that's the reason why I think Marc Gasol was such a good pickup, because he helps the Lakers offensive flow. Like he helps to make those good extra passes that you need to find that open person.
Matthews' ability to shoot on the move has been huge too. Like his ability to like come off a screen and step to the side and shoot, like something Danny Green could shoot like running up to it, like stepping into a shot, but he couldn't shoot laterally side to side. I think Matthews could do that. And that opens up a lot for that offense. But we spend a lot of time on this team. But like I said, like the number one team, they've been sleepwalking. They haven't really cared, but they're still number one in the power rankings. That says a lot.
I can't see them dropping, not necessarily because they lose, but just because the Philadelphia 76ers continue to win.
Yeah.
And continue to only have one loss. So I could see like the 76ers go moving up to that one spot and then the Lakers dropping down to like 2. Again, not necessarily because of a loss, but just because of how well the 76ers are playing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Lakers being at that one spot is definitely a respect thing, but I mean they kind of earned it too. So out of all these teams we've mentioned, out of all these 30 teams that we mentioned, who has surprised you the most? Like which team has been the biggest surprise to you so far through these first 2 weeks?
The Knicks.
Okay.
The way the Knicks have played has, like I said, it's been very good. They played very well, and I don't think it's sustainable for them to play this well, like I said earlier. But they've been very fun to watch. What about you?
Okay, I like that. I think so far for the first 2 weeks, to me, the most surprising team was the Cavs.
The Cavs, yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't.
If it wasn't the Knicks or the Hawks, it'd have been the Cavs for me.
Yeah, I just didn't expect the Cavs to start out this high. But like you brought up before, Colin Sexton and
Darius Garland, Sexland.
Yeah, I don't like that name.
I don't like that name either.
I hate that nickname.
That's what they call him. Sexland.
I know, Sexland. I hate that name. But that backcourt has actually been really impressive. And if I'm a Cavs fan, I can't wait to see what these two are able to do once they get some more experience under their belt.
Right.
Especially together. They've played really well. Not only have they been great offensively, but their defense has actually been really great too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Colin Sexton. Him being an undersized guard versus certain players, his defense has been great. So the Cavs to me was the biggest shock so far. They've shown, them and the Suns to me have kind of shown what happens when you try to sleep on teams like this. They take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that Jordan meme, I took it personally. I feel like the Suns and the Cavs are a team that take it personal when you think that they're going to be a walk in the park. And so they come to play you a certain way. Go ahead.
I think the Suns are on a higher level than the Cavs, but the Cavs
of course.
The Cavs are playing they're playing higher than their talent level.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, so are the Suns, but the Cavs are really playing higher than their talent level.
I agree. I just feel like what I'm seeing from teams playing them is just teams really disrespect them sometimes. At least to start out. Again, this is only the first 2 weeks, so I think as the season carries on, people will start to respect the Cavs a little more, and it'll be a little harder for them to get certain wins. But I just feel like through these first few games, especially the first 5 for them, people were kind of sleeping on the way that they were playing.
Yeah, the Cavs would be content with the 500 record at the end of the season. Now, whether they can do that remains to be seen, but I feel like they'd be happy with the 500 record.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So who do you think will have a better record at the end of the season than the Knicks or the Cavs?
That's a good question.
Because the Knicks are 26 on this power ranking list, and then the Cavs are 19.
Oh, that's a good question. I think Wow. I don't know. I think they'll end up being very similar.
Think so?
Yeah.
I think they will be too.
Because the Cavs are missing Kevin Love, right? They haven't had Kevin Love all season. Once Kevin Love comes back, why is Kevin Love out?
I think an injury.
Right. So once you get Kevin Love back, that's one of the best players. That's probably the best player. So maybe the Cavs. I'll probably give it to the Cavs.
Give it to the Cavs. Okay.
At like a 10 seed, maybe the Knicks are like 11th or 12th. But
okay, you see them being a 500 team.
Who? The Cavs?
The Cavs, yeah.
I think they'll be close.
Be close. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's interesting that we had two East teams being our most shocking teams.
Yeah, because historically you don't expect those teams to be good.
That's kind of true.
or even decent. The fact that they're decent is like, wow. So that's a surprise. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, you got anything else to add?
Nah, this was a long one though. But it was fun. It was a good start to the year.
I agree. I think these power rankings were interesting. I definitely think that some of these were definitely they were out of respect for who was on the roster for some of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why some of these teams were higher than they probably should have been through the start of the season. But it's interesting to see how these will shift, especially that 20 to like 11 range. There's a lot of teams in that mix that I think will be kind of in that top 15, top 10 spot by the end of this first half of the season. Like the Rockets being at 17, I definitely think that they'll be at probably that 10 spot, especially if they keep James Harden. Will be at that 10 spot by the end of this first half of the regular season.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Definitely think a lot of people are overthinking these first 2 weeks for their respective teams. It's only the first 2 weeks. You can't really overreact. Like a lot of people are overreacting to Jimmy Butler right now being on the Heat and trying to say he's not a superstar. And I'm like, he's not a regular season guy. He's definitely a postseason type of guy.
He's the opposite of Paul George. Well, not really the opposite of Paul George. He's not the opposite of Paul George because he's not as bad as Paul George is in the playoffs in the regular season, but he definitely ups his level of play in the playoffs.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like some people got to realize that that's just how it goes. Like you can even say with like LeBron, like any team that he's on through this first part of the season, they just trying to get a feel for each other. But then after that All-Star break is when he makes that big push come playoff time. So, and I mean, and they're at the top seed in the West now and number one in the power rankings, and they're kind of coasting. So you just got to realize it's only 2 weeks. We're only 2 weeks in. Teams will get better and get worse as the season goes along. So there's really nothing to panic about. Some people are panicking 2 weeks in. It's like, just calm down. It's just the first 2 weeks, man. Things will change. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, me too. You ready? You ready to get out of here?
Yeah, I'm ready to get out of here. Ready to see some games tonight.
Yeah, for sure. This has been another episode of the Point Godcast. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Point Godcast. We'll see y'all next time.